In the first fight, we have Tecia Pennington versus Luana Pinheiro. Pennington's 35 years old, 14-7, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 7 months ago. Pennington lands 4.82 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.53. She has a 10% finish rate and is a minus 400 favorite. Pinheiro's 32 years old, 11-4, 2-3 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 6 months ago. Pinheiro lands 3.42 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.03. She has a 47% finish rate and is a plus 310 underdog. Tecia Pennington is coming off a win against Carla Esparza in her last fight. She usually gives up some size in her fights, but she'll only be giving up 2 inches of reach and 1 inch in height here. Pennington has solid output, landing almost 5 significant strikes per minute, while Pinheiro lands less than 3.5. On the feet, I think Pennington can use her pace and her volume. Pinheiro's path to victory for me will be her grappling. She lands 1.8 takedowns per 15 minutes. If she's able to get a couple takedowns, get some control time, she can definitely win the fight. Pinheiro's on a 3-fight skid as well. She hasn't won a fight in over 2 years. Pinheiro is 3-3 in the UFC. Either Pennington wins with her volume or Pinheiro gets the fight to the ground. I'm gonna go with Tecia Pennington. I know she's 35, but the skid Pinheiro is on can't be ignored. What's up, everybody? Crossover MMA back in here for another video. Now let's get back into UFC Vegas 106. In the next fight, we have HyunSung Park versus Carlos Hernandez. Park is 29 years old, 9-0, coming off a TKO win a year and a half ago. Park lands 4.15 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.9. He has an 89% finish rate and is a minus 190 favorite. Hernandez is 31 years old, 10-4, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 5 months ago. Hernandez lands 3.9 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.43. He has a 29% finish rate and is a plus 155 underdog. HyunSung Park is an exciting flyweight with legit power in his hands. He has 4 TKO wins and also has 4 submission wins on his resume. Hernandez is 3-3 since joining the UFC, has faced solid competition with Tatsuto Taira and Ray Saruya. The output for both guys is very similar. They use the same amount of grappling as well. Park is much more of a finisher. He's on a 9-fight finish streak. Hernandez's defensive grappling has let him down in fights, and I think Park will look to take advantage of it. I think Park is also a better overall fighter and has some finishing ability. Give me HyunSung Park to get it done. In the next fight, we have Elise versus Denise Gomes. Elise is 32 years old, 8-4, 3-2 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 6 months ago. Reed lands 3.5 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.15. She has a 17% finish rate and is a plus 380 underdog. Gomes is 25 years old, 10-3, 4-1 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 6 months ago. Gomes lands 4.55 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.11. She has a 46% finish rate and is a minus 500 favorite. Both ladies are strikers, so hopefully they won't get tied up in the clinch or even end up on the ground. Elise Reed has been on a win-1, lose-1 streak for her last 8 fights. She won her last fight, so if the pattern holds, she definitely loses this fight. Denise Gomes is on a 2-fight win streak. Gomes' output and power should play a role in this fight. Reed isn't a finisher and she gets hit a lot more frequently as well. I think Reed will look to use more kicks. Gomes will look to land big with the hands. Reed's a bit too tentative for me, so I'm going to go with Denise Gomes. In the next fight, we have Luana Santos versus Tainara Lisboa. Santos is 25 years old, 8-2, 4-1 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 8 months ago. Santos lands 4.28 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.15. She has a 50% finish rate and is a minus 130 favorite. Lisboa is 34 years old, 7-2, 5-0 in her last 5 fights, coming off a decision win a year and a half ago. Lisboa lands 2.05 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 1.4. She has a 67% finish rate and is a plus 110 underdog. Santos is 9 years younger and has 1 more fight under her belt. Santos has also passed 4 fights in the UFC, whereas Lisboa only has 2. Lisboa is on a 5-fight win streak, so she definitely has some solid momentum. Santos lands twice the amount of output as Lisboa and has solid takedown defense at 80%. Lisboa will need to get this fight to the ground, look for control time, or even for a submission. I think Santos will be the more active on the feet. Then when they get into the clinch, I think she'll use some of her judo background to get a takedown, use some control time, mix in some ground and pound. Lisboa could surprise Santos with an opportunistic submission, but I'm going to go with Luana Santos to get it done. In the next fight, we have Yadier Valle versus Connor Mathews. Valle's 28 years old, 8-0, coming off a decision win 6 months ago. Valle lands 8.33 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.93, is a 50% finish rate, and is a -420 favorite. Mathews is 32 years old, 7-3, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 2 months ago. Mathews lands 5.08 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 6.25, is a 60% finish rate, and is a +320 underdog. This should be an exciting fight right here. Connor Mathews is 0-2 since getting into the UFC and getting finished in both. Valle will be making his UFC debut off of Dana White's Contender Series. Mathews will enjoy a 2-inch reach advantage. Both men are very high output, which should deliver for an exciting fight however it goes. Mathews looks to use his wrestling, lands 3.46 takedowns per 15 minutes. Mathews' wrestling will be an interesting test in the young career of Valle. If Valle can't defend the takedowns, then he can be in for a long night. This is a solid test to see where his takedown defense, scrambling ability, and ability to get back to his feet is in his young career. Valle isn't afraid to use his own offensive grappling. He lands 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. I'm going to go with Valle to get it done. The 2-fight skid and getting finished in both fights for Mathews can't be ignored. In the next fight, we have Jared Gordon versus Thiago Moises. Gordon is 36 years old, 20-7, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 10 months ago. Gordon lands 5.75 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.97, is a 33% finish rate. This is a -110 pick'em fight. Thiago Moises is 30 years old, 19-8, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 3 months ago. Moises lands 2.5 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.12, is a 44% finish rate, and like I said, this is a pick'em fight. This should be a fun veteran matchup. Jared Gordon has been up and down without much consistency in the last 3 years of fighting. Gordon is also 36 years old now. He's a striker that primarily uses his boxing. Thiago Moises is coming off of a win over Trey Ogden. On the feet, Gordon is a volume striker. Moises is a little lower output and more measured. Moises will enjoy a 3-inch reach advantage, and I think he'll be the better grappler here. Gordon will look to fight off the front foot and control the pace. Moises has a bad habit, in my opinion, of getting backed up against the cage and just allowing his opponents to dictate the range and the pace to him. He did a better job of this in his last fight, but it's still a tendency of his. I think Gordon will be able to back Moises up, and if he cannot get too reckless, he'll be exactly where he wants the fight to be. Moises, on the other hand, likes to use his leg kicks, long-range strikes from range. Opponents that apply pressure to him make him very uncomfortable, and I think this will be Gordon's path to victory. Both men get hit a lot, so that should lead to an entertaining fight. If Gordon isn't able to make Moises back up, I think Moises will have real success with the leg kicks. This is a tough one, but ultimately I'm going to go with Thiago Moises to get it done. In the next fight, we have Gabe Green versus Matheus Camilo. Green is 32 years old, 11-5, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 2 years ago. Green lands 6.28 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 6.95, is a 63% finish rate, and is a +145 underdog. Camilo is 24 years old, 9-2, 5-0 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 4 months ago. And Camilo is a -175 favorite. Gabe Green is getting back in the octagon after a 2-month hiatus. He's 2-2 since joining the UFC. Camilo will be making his UFC debut at only 24 years old. How will he handle the bright lights of the UFC? Green, in my opinion, is a solid test. He has finishes on the feet and submissions. If Camilo has a hole in his game somewhere, I think it will show itself in this fight. Camilo does have 4 TKO wins, 2 submission wins on his young career. I don't like the time out of the octagon for Gabe Green. 2 years is a long time. Plus, being on a 2-fight skid doesn't help as well. Camilo's on a 6-fight win streak, has a lot of momentum. His 2 losses have been by submission, so that may be something to pay attention to and something Gabe Green could potentially exploit. I don't like the time off or the 2-fight skid, so I'm going to go with Camilo to get it done. In the next fight, we have Julian Erosa versus Melquizael Costa. Erosa's 35 years old, 31-12, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 1 month ago. Erosa lands 6.4 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 6.21. He has a 61% finish rate and is a plus 180 underdog. Costa's 28 years old, 23-7, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 1 month ago. Costa lands 3.86 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 2.72. He has a 50% finish rate and is a minus 220 favorite. This fight might be the people's main event right here. I'm really excited for this one. Juicy J Julian Erosa is never in boring fights. Both men are on a 3-fight win streak, have a lot of momentum going in the right direction. Erosa's a long, rangy striker that's always in the dogfights. Costa's a striker, he's a bit more measured. I think Erosa will fight on the front foot and force the action. The problem is, though, Erosa doesn't have the best head movement and he gets hit a lot. Costa manages the distance a little better, in my opinion, and has the better striking defense. Since joining the UFC, Costa's 4-2 with 2 finishes. Erosa's on a 3-fight finish streak. Erosa likes to just stand in the pocket and bang, but also is an opportunistic submission threat as well. Costa will be 7 years junior to Erosa. Erosa will enjoy a 4-inch reach advantage, but I don't think his fighting style really plays into it. He doesn't really like to stay at range, even though he typically has a reach advantage. A lot of times he just goes to stay in the pocket and be in exciting fights. I think Costa will mix in the kicks with the hands and give Erosa a lot to be aware of. Also, Costa has a really nasty body kick. Erosa likes to go in, use his kicks, more show, but ultimately just wants to get in the pocket and exchange. Both men are making quick turnarounds, having fought just 1 month ago. I think Erosa's a bit defensively irresponsible and gets hit a bit too much, so give me Costa here in a tough fight. In the next fight, we have Dustin Stoltzfus versus Nursulton Ruziboev. Stoltzfus is 33 years old, 16-6, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 6 months ago. Stoltzfus lands 3.47 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.29, has a 41% finish rate, and is a plus 225 underdog. Ruziboev is 31 years old, 35-9-2, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO win 2 months ago. Ruziboev lands 2.75 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.78, has a 72% finish rate, and is a minus 285 favorite. Both men are coming off KO wins. Stoltzfus is a 500 fighter in his last 10 fights. He's 3-6 since joining the UFC. Ruziboev is 9-1 in his last 10 fights and 3-1 since joining the UFC. Stoltzfus is a striker that gets in the pocket and it's either kill or be killed. In his 8 UFC fights, only 2 haven't ended inside the distance. On the other side, Ruziboev's 4 UFC fights, 3 have ended inside the distance. This fight will definitely be explosive. Ruziboev's a long, rangy striker that looks to finish the fight with his right straight. In my opinion, that's his best punch. Both men leave themselves open defensively. Ruziboev likes to use his range as pretty much his defense, in my opinion. Neither guy offers much head movement. Stoltzfus does have a path to victory, and that's using some grappling. He lands 2.31 takedowns per 15 minutes. Ruziboev got a bit exposed in the Joaquin Buckley fight for just getting held down for extended periods of time. If Stoltzfus doesn't grapple, he's really playing with fire right here. I think we're going to get a firefight, and Ruziboev defends the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, and gets the job done. So give me Nursulton Ruziboev. In the next fight, we have Sadiq Yusuff versus Mairon Santos. Sadiq Yusuff is 31 years old, 13-4, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a TKO loss 1 year ago. Yusuff lands 5.66 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 4.51, has a 41% finish rate, and is a plus 120 underdog. Santos is 24 years old, 16-1, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision win 2 months ago. Santos lands 4.14 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.78, is a 47% finish rate, and is a minus 140 favorite. Sadiq Yusuff is on a 2-fight skid. He was finished early in his last fight against Diego Lopez in the first round. Was winning the Edson Barboza fight, but then Edson Barboza showed he still had that dog in him and an impressive comeback victory. Yusuff is taking 1 year off and he's returning to the octagon. Santos is coming off a robbery win in his last fight against Francis Marshall. He's on a 4-fight win streak, Santos usually enjoys a decent reach advantage in his fight, but it'll only be a 1-inch advantage in this matchup. Santos is very much a plotter and will stand right in front of Sadiq Yusuff. Santos likes to use low kicks and counters with his hands. Yusuff is also a plotter, so both men are going to be right there in front of one another. I think Yusuff will be the one to initiate the action and use a bit more movement. I think this will play out on feet and both men will land. I think Santos would lead the dance some if he could, and I think that would be a good recipe for him, but from the fights I've seen, he's always like typically the guy looking to counter. I do think Santos needs to find out early if Yusuff is the same guy 1 year out of the octagon. Both men have 17 fights, with Yusuff having 9 in the UFC and Santos only having 2. The experience difference, in my opinion, should show itself and have an impact on this fight. I can see this being a war of attrition or a slow fight where neither guy's putting any combinations together. I like the experience of Yusuff, and I think it's going to be the difference here. So give me the underdog and Sadiq Yusuff. In the co-main event, we have Rodolfo Bellato versus Paul Craig. Bellato's 29 years old, 12-2-1. He's 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights, coming off a draw 3 months ago. Bellato lands 6.28 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 6.31. He has a 73% finish rate and is a -500 favorite. Paul Craig is 37 years old, 17-9-1, 1-4 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 5 months ago. Craig lands 2.52 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.03. He has a 63% finish rate and is a +340 underdog. Paul Craig's on a 3-fight skid. He'll be going back up to light heavyweight here. Bellato's coming off a draw against Jimmy Crute. Bellato's just a brute. This guy walks forward, gets right into the action. He'll eat a shot to land a shot. His fights are guaranteed action. Paul Craig's a BJJ practitioner, and his striking looked a little bit improved in the Bo Nickel fight. I still think he's a bit out of his element on the feet and ultimately wants to get the fight to the ground and look for the submission. There's also a big age difference here, as it's 29 versus 37 for Paul Craig. Bellato lands more than double the output of Paul Craig and also absorbs more than double as well. I think Bellato is going to go right after Paul Craig, get right in his face straight away as soon as the fight starts. Paul Craig has always struggled getting the fight to the ground with his wrestling, and I think there'll be another issue again here. Bellato could drop Craig and then follow him down to the ground where Paul Craig ultimately wants to fight. The only path to victory for Paul Craig for me is just on his back with the jiu-jitsu, getting the submission. And he could get it done, but I'm going to go with Rodolfo Bellato. I think the output and the power would be too much for Paul Craig. Before we get into the main event, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, ring the bell so you're notified when I drop new content. In the main event, we have Gilbert Burns versus Michael Morales. Gilbert Burns is 38 years old, 22-8, 2-3 in his last 5 fights, coming off a decision loss 8 months ago. Burns lands 3.17 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.57. He has a 50% finish and is a +475 underdog. Morales is 25 years old, 17-0, coming off a TKO win 8 months ago. Morales lands 5.42 significant strikes per minute, absorbs 3.42. He has a 77% finish rate and is a -650 favorite. Gilbert Burns is serving as the gatekeeper for the young, up-and-coming fighters. He's done it against Khamzat Chimaev, JDM, and Sean Brady. Gilbert Burns is on a 3-fight skid, and he's 38 years old. Unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. Michael Morales is a striker with big power. He'll enjoy an 8-inch reach advantage. Welterweight is going through kind of a renaissance and a rebrand at the moment with new and exciting contenders. The older guys like Wonder Boy, Leon Edwards, Colby Covington, Kamaru Usman are all fighting the young, hungry lions right now. Burns is a game opponent. He's a BJJ practitioner with solid wrestling and decent power. He hasn't KO'd anyone since 2020. Morales has been on a tear lately and is looking to throw his name in there amongst all the other new title contenders. Morales has great output, picks his shot well, and is definitely a finisher. Burns will need to show Morales a lot of different things, the wrestling, a lot of feints, movement. If he gets too repetitive, Morales will time him and land something clean. Burns' path to victory for me will be his wrestling and his BJJ. Morales has 92% takedown defense, so I think he'll do a good job of keeping the fight on the feet. Burns only has 1 submission win in his last 10 fights. I think we're going to see kind of a passing of the torch to the next era again at welterweight. I think Michael Morales has all the tools to be a dangerous threat in this division. With a spectacular win, he'll be in line for a #1 contender fight. I think Michael Morales gets it done here. I think on the feet, he'll be the slightly better striker. Gilbert can make it ugly with his grappling. In a 3-rounder, I think he have a better chance. I think Morales lands something that turns the tide and gets it done. If you made it this far in the video, I greatly appreciate it. Questions, comments, thoughts, and your feedback is always welcome. And as always, until next time.